one person can make a difference. Rosa Parks' refusal to give up her busty in Montgomery, Alabama, led to some of the most significant civil rights legislation in American history. After her 13-year-old daughter was killed by a repeat drunk driving offender, Candy Lightner founded Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, MAD, in 1980. Prior to MAD, there were very little or no consequences for driving under the influence. Her organization transformed American attitudes about drunk driving and successfully fought for laws across the country. Union leader and labor organizer Cesar Chavez began as a migrant farm worker and formed a Latino civil rights group called the United Farm Workers of America, which has improved treatment, pay, and working conditions for farm workers. As you can see from these examples, speaking up is the most powerful way that one person can make a difference. Speaking up is not only about the words you use, it's about your beliefs, the actions, and who you're being in the world. Would you believe there's a lot of people in the world?
Oh, yeah.
How many people do you think there are in the world? Guess.
7 billion.
Who cheated? You were here earlier. There are 7 billion people in the world. And just to put that in perspective, I got some stats here, just so you, for your knowledge here. 131 million people are born a year. 360,000 people are born a day. 15,000 people are born each hour. 250 births every minute. That's a lot of people. And so there are over 7 billion people, and most football stadiums can fit around 100,000 people. To help you begin to picture it. With that many people in the world, wouldn't you agree that it's truly a miracle that one person like Rosa Parks, Cesar Chavez, and Candy Lightner can make a difference? And those are just a few people that we know about. There are people all over the world making a difference and creating miracles. One person can make a difference, and that one person could be you, Rosie, and Brenda, and Michael over there, and everybody at home watching. Today I'd like to talk to you about the mastery of miracles so that all of you in the room and out there can each become miracle makers and miracle receivers too. You may be wondering, why am I here talking about miracles? Who am I? That's exactly what I would be thinking if I was sitting in those seats. In fact, that's how my miracle making began. It took a miracle for me to see beyond my own sob story. 15 years ago was the moment when everything changed. I was sitting at a personal development seminar. Dozens of people were lining up to defend their stories and challenge the idea that they were responsible for how their own lives turned out. I sat 3 days and listened to all of these stories, and in the back of my mind, there was a little voice saying, yeah, that's true for them. They're making up so many stories. They're creating stories, but none of these stories are better than mine. I had a good story. I had been sitting there for a few hours when I heard a story that stopped the voice in my head. It was a young woman, about 27 years old. She confidently walked up to the microphone. She began to talk about how her sisters didn't love her. They didn't call her, they didn't look for her, and when she was little, they would slam the bedroom door in her face. Then she moved on with her story. She had a different father than her sisters. And when she was just a little girl, her father molested her 13-year-old sister and got her pregnant. And even though the mother found out, she didn't kick him out. Soon after, at a family party, she was playing with her father, sitting on his lap, when her enraged cousin came into the party, shot and killed her father because of the molestation. She said that his blood was all over her. She was only 3 years old when it happened. She was extremely emotional, sobbing, and she went into great detail about it. I felt like I was standing in that room with her. It was horrendous and shocking. I think that's the worst thing that could happen. Your father being killed right in front of you. It was so sad. It made me think, compared to her story, my story was nothing. In the moment, the myth that my story was different was completely busted. I had thought that I had the most untouchable story, and so many reasons for people to feel sorry for me. That day I saw an opening where I could change things for myself. Up until that moment, I had been using my story as proof for why my life wasn't working. Even though I had already been making changes in my life, against the odds, I had completed a hard-earned master's degree, and I was starting my career as a psychologist. But I came from living in a poor neighborhood where drive-by shootings were an everyday occurrence, and my cousin was killed in one of those drive-by shootings. I even even with the education and becoming a professional, there was still all of this old drama and pain inside of me. My journey has taken me from the ghetto to the Taj Mahal with some side trips to Mount Everest, the Eiffel Tower, and even the Vatican. Considering the first 2 decades of my life were spent in the worst gang-infested area of Los Angeles, in a 20 by 20 block radius, that's a miracle. The first miracle of my life began with me sitting on the curb outside my mom's apartment with a cardboard box full of my possessions. I was 19 and all I had was a jacket, 2 pairs of shoes, 2 notebooks, a photo album, my makeup bag, and a few dirty clothes I grabbed as I was pushed out the door onto the street by my mom. My twin sisters had been accepted into an upper bound program at Occidental College. After several warnings, they were told if they missed one more class, they were going to be kicked out of the program. They were devastated. Even though Eagle Rock was only 7 miles away, it might as well have been another country. Because my mom was not taking them. My mom came up with any excuse not to take them. She was hungover, she didn't have money for gas. She didn't value or understand the opportunity that this program afforded my sisters. It was a miracle that I, who flunked out of high school and didn't see a future for myself, could see a future for them. Because of my actions that day, somehow they got it right. And ended up becoming the first members of our family to ever go to college. And that's a miracle. I was thrown out of the house that day because of my efforts to get them to school that day, to the program. And it was almost a year before my mom spoke to me again. But it was worth it to speak up. Over the years, I have continued to speak up and to create and receive miracles. Speaking up for injured workers at the state capitol and in Oakland, helping to change legislation and improve the quality of people's lives. I believe I have become a master of miracles. This ghetto girl from the roughest part of LA, honestly, opening up to miracles is not that complicated, although it can challenge you. There are 3 stages to being a master of miracles. You want to know?
Yes.
First, you must clean yourself up. Just like the story I shared about always thinking no one had a worse story than me, I see many people caught up in their stories. So much so that no wonder it's impossible to see any miracles when inside your own head you're making up things, stories. Not good enough, not smart enough, not enough money, too old, too disabled, can't do it. So, to clean yourself up, I encourage you to recognize the stories that you're telling yourself, those lies. Let people in, like Meryl said, community. Let people in as you release the shame. Stop living Groundhog Day every day, doing the same things over and over. When you want something different for yourself, if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting
Same results.
the same results. Stare in the mirror at the lies that you're telling yourself. Know that everything that you want is on the other side of fear. Look at your intimate relationships and see what they're telling you about yourself. And once you've started doing your life's work, and you know it's lifelong, it never ends, it'll be time to raise a bar. It wasn't until I could see beyond my 2020 block radius, gang-infested ghetto, that I could move forward with my life. Raising the bar happens, that's number 2, raising the bar happens when we stop settling, when we can have it all. Become the millionaire of time. Look to the future and begin to see ourselves in 5 years from now, increments. Become great. Whatever you do, be great at it. Stop making it hard on ourselves. Get right with the source of your life. Your mother, your father, your brothers and sisters. And make a conscious choice to raise a bar in our lives. Once we do this, we can finally move on to the last step. A life expecting miracles. Move into a way of being where we are always creating, speaking up, standing up, and owning the miracle maker that we are. As we call out miracles that we see every day, we encourage even more miracles to show up. Waking up in the morning is a miracle. Being able to make a phone call from LA to Kathmandu is a miracle. A plane weighs over 735,000 pounds. It can fly, stay in the sky, and not fall down. That's a miracle. Giving birth is a miracle. All the moving parts in our body is a miracle. Even a simple action like eating and digesting an apple, that's a miracle. And a human being being able to climb 30,000 feet to Mount Everest is a miracle. I grew up in a rough area of LA where drug dealers, gangs, deaths, and crime was daily. What right did I have to feel a bigger victim? What I have come to realize is that there is no quit in me, and I don't think there's a quit in you. Rosie, Jonathan, Brenda. I don't believe. You are a miracle maker and a miracle receiver. Today, I challenge you each to begin the lifelong journey of cleaning yourself up, raising the bar, and living a life expecting miracles. Thank you.